The observation deck of the Wandering Star offered a panoramic view of Varath Seven's crimson forests, but Mira Solin barely noticed the scenery. Her nose itched ferociously, and before she could stop herself, a violent sneeze echoed through the quiet research station. "Bless you," murmured Dr. Chen from across the room, not looking up from his datapad. Mira rubbed her nose, annoyed. The pollen from the native silvershade trees was playing havoc with her sinuses, despite the filters. She'd been on this remote world for 3 months now, studying the apex predators that the xenobiology community had dubbed shadow stalkers. Sleek, 6-limbed carnivores with intelligence that bordered on unsettling. What made her research truly groundbreaking, however, were the cubs, specifically the 3 juveniles that had, against all protocol and common sense, adopted her observation post as part of their territory. Mira had named them privately Reki, the bold one with the notched ear, Senna, the curious female, and Patch, the runt with mismatched fur patterns. Through the reinforced glass, she could see Reki now, prowling along the tree line. At 8 months old, he was already the size of a earth tiger, his obsidian scales glinting like wet stone. His eyes, 6 of them, arranged in 2 horizontal rows, tracked every movement in the clearing. Mira sneezed again, harder this time. She fumbled for a tissue, her eyes watering. When she looked up, Reki's head had snapped toward the observation deck, all 6 eyes fixed on the window where she stood. "Great," she muttered. "Now I'm entertaining the locals." What happened next would change xenobiology forever. Reki didn't retreat. Instead, he tilted his head in that peculiar way the cubs did when processing something new. Then he vanished into the undergrowth with liquid grace. Mira shrugged and returned to her notes. The cubs often disappeared for hours, hunting or playing in ways that would give human parents nightmares. She documented the sneeze incident. Everything was data, and moved on to analyzing yesterday's footage. 20 minutes later, a soft thump against the station's entrance airlock made her jump. The exterior camera showed Reki sitting outside the door, something clutched in his jaw. As Mira watched, Senna emerged from the forest carrying a bundle of leaves. Patch followed, struggling under the weight of his own leafy burden. "What are you 3 up to?" Mira whispered. Reki dropped his offering at the airlock and looked directly at the camera, making a low chirping sound, the call the cubs used when they wanted attention. When Mira didn't respond, he batted at the door with one massive paw. Against every regulation in the Xenobiology handbook, Mira opened the outer airlock. The cubs didn't enter. Instead, Reki carefully nudged his leaves forward, then sat back. Senna and Patch did the same, creating a small pile of vegetation just inside the threshold. 14 leaves in total, Mira counted. Each one was from a different plant species, carefully selected and undamaged. Then Reki made a sound Mira had never heard before, a soft, almost worried trill. He touched his own nose with his paw, then gestured toward the leaves. Mira's heart hammered. "No way. You didn't just—" She ran a bioscanner over the leaves from inside the station. The results made her hands shake. Every single leaf contained compounds with anti-inflammatory or antihistamine properties. 12 of the 14 were already cataloged as having medicinal value. The other 2 had never been tested. The cubs had brought her medicine. For a sneeze they'd heard through reinforced walls, from a species they'd known for barely 3 months. They had somehow understood she was unwell and gathered plants to help her. Mira sealed the airlock and ran to the lab, her mind racing. She tested each leaf, her excitement growing with every result. The cubs hadn't just grabbed random plants, they'd selected them with precision. The combination would have created a synergistic effect, amplifying the medicinal properties. But how? Shadow stalkers were carnivores. They didn't eat plants. Yet somehow, these juveniles possessed sophisticated knowledge of botanical medicine. Over the next week, Mira documented everything. She sneezed deliberately, hating herself for it, and every time, the cubs responded. They brought different combinations of leaves depending on the severity of her symptoms. When she faked a cough, they brought plants rich in expectorants. When she held her head as if in pain, they selected anti-inflammatory species. The implications were staggering. Shadow stalkers weren't just intelligent predators, they were ethnobotanists. They observed, remembered, and applied knowledge across species barriers. They showed empathy and medical reasoning that rivaled human field medics. On the 8th day, Mira sat outside the station, properly suited and protected with the cubs around her. Reki lay closest, his massive head resting near her knee. She'd brought a case of carefully prepared leaves, each one they'd previously selected, now processed into a crude tea. "You three are going to change everything," she told them softly. "Humans thought we were special because we're tool users, because we're empathetic, because we heal each other. But you do all that too, don't you? You're not just smart, you're compassionate." Reki chirped and gently head-butted her arm. Mira pulled out her comm unit and began recording her formal report. "Dr. Mira Solin, Xenobiology Research Station, Verath 7, Day 97. I am officially recommending that shadow stalkers be reclassified as a Tier 1 intelligent species. Furthermore, I propose immediate protective status for Verath 7 and formal first contact protocols." She paused, watching Senna and Patch play fighting in the clearing, while Reki kept watch over both them and her. "Humanity has always defined intelligence by our own standards," she continued. "We ask if other species can use our tools, speak our languages, think our thoughts. But the cubs taught me something else. Intelligence isn't about being like us. It's about solving problems, showing compassion, and building bridges across the vast distances between minds. Today, 3 juvenile predators showed more medical insight and empathy than most humans demonstrate in a lifetime." Mira reached out slowly. Reki allowed her gloved hand to rest on his scaled head. "Maybe the real test of intelligence isn't whether other species can understand us," she said quietly. "Maybe it's whether we're smart enough to understand them." Reki purred, a sound like distant thunder, and closed his 6 eyes contentedly. In the trees above, more shadow stalkers watched with ancient wisdom, waiting to see what humanity would do next.